trying the same shot. Okay, cool. So we've got just a few minutes to go here before we start. And it looks like we've got a couple people here already. So I'm going to start a quick poll to see how many of you have done fasting before. So you'll see it on the right in your comment question side. So go ahead and click in, let us know. That way we know if you've ever tried it, if you tried and failed, if you tried and loved it. We'll get kind of an idea of where we're at. A little bit of background for me, I have tried fasting before, a bunch of different kinds. I've tried juice fasting, I've tried water fasting. Both were definitely difficult. This is a different kind that we're going over today. And it's all about really resetting those habits, right? We all go through times where we fall off the wagon, whether that's after the holidays or a vacation or a really stressful time in life. Things get crazy busy, and next thing you know, you've stopped cooking at home, you've stopped meal prepping, you've stopped going to the gym or what have you. This is a great way to really get yourself back on track, which is one of the things I love most about it. And so it looks like we've got a fair amount of experience here with some fashion of fasting, intermittent or otherwise, and a couple people who haven't done it before yet. So we'll go ahead and go over all of that. We're going to give it just a few more minutes for people to come in and join us. As we go through this, if you have any questions, go ahead and message them in, and we'll kind of go through all of those at the end. So if you think of things as time goes by, please do write in. And at the end, we've got a really great offer for you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us. I know it's busy at lunchtime. We want to make this short, sweet, and deeply worth your time. And so with that, it's officially 12 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started here. So fasting is a concept that has been around for a long time. It's getting a ton of buzz right now with intermittent fasting. And there's a bunch of resource on ketogenesis or the keto diet for weight loss. But really across all cultures, religions, fasting has been a part of the human experience for forever. And anywhere from short fast to 12 hours, all the way up to 3 weeks, sometimes just fasting during certain times of the day or certain times of the year. But regardless, there have always been periods of time built in where we were not eating as much. And really in the last 100 to 150 years, with changes in cultural practices and the advent of grocery stores and things like that, it's kind of fallen by the wayside. And we're now starting to realize with our science that, that's probably to our detriment, and we should probably look at ways to add this back in. And so where a lot of this research has come from are these so-called blue zones, where they have a huge percentage of the population that lives to be right around 100 or even more. And not only are they living long, but they're living well. They're getting to 100 and they're not having huge rates of heart disease and dementia. These are people that are still vibrant and living fairly independently. Many of them are even still working. And, you'll find these populations in Costa Rica, Greece, Italy, Japan, and even here in California. And when we study these centenarians, these people who live to be 100, we find that a very great many of them do go through periods of what they call in science voluntary caloric restriction. Sounds like a party, right? And so, the big question is, how can we use that to help us, and what are the implications there? And so most people, when they start fasting, they think of weight loss. And, I'll be honest, me too. Weight loss is awesome. I think most of us are looking for that a lot of the time. And yes, you will get that in a fast for sure. But the biggest and most exciting benefits are in the rejuvenation and repair. And there are a lot of things that happen in the body when you've gone for a period of time with fewer calories that help you to really kind of clean house, right? And get everything in order. And that really turns into very tangible results in a longevity way. You'll live longer, live better. And so the research started in yeast. Once they realized that these centenarians were living a long time, they started fiddling with this. And yeast, they're these little single-celled organisms here in this picture. Once you restrict their calories quite a bit, it doubles their lifespan, which is remarkable, truly, truly remarkable. But, we're not yeast. And I don't think any of us want to live to 200. Well, maybe not. So from there, they moved on to rodents. So this was a little bit more exciting. So they dropped their calories by a quarter to a half, and they lived a good 10% longer, and they died with fewer diseases, better mental health, all of this kind of thing, which is exciting. But who wants to drop their calories by half? That's really not something that sounds appealing at all. And truly, they tried it in the Biosphere 2 project. And so that extra 11% that the rodents got would translate to a good 8 years or so for us. But again, when they tried it, the researchers in the Biosphere, they came out very malnourished, a lot of muscle wasting, a lot of weakness. That's not a good option for us. Chronically restricting your calories like that is not going to make you healthy. And in some ways, it may even shorten your lifespan. So don't do that. So the big key difference here is really that level of nourishment. That's what distinguishes fasting from starvation. And so truly, there's a short period of time that we put ourselves through a regimen, and it sparks a ton of cellular renewal, but it's not nutrient deficient, right? So, and that's the big key there. Starvation is going to be the lack of nutrition, and that ultimately is going to lead to a lot of degeneration, disease. It's going to make you less healthy. And so fasting in humans, once they move the research there, we're showing improvements in obesity, high blood pressure, asthma, rheumatoid arthritis, really a whole host of different things. And for those people who like to geek out in a blood work way or a medication way, you're going to drop total body fat, especially in the midsection. Blood pressure goes down, cholesterol goes down, blood sugars and insulin. And so this might be something you could use in a targeted way, obviously with your doctor's supervision and input, to start working toward coming off of some of those medications. So for us, especially when it's done in a cyclical way, these benefits can be absolutely profound. And so the way that the fasting mimicking diet is set up is it's really meant to be done a series of rounds, especially if you're working on some of those more chronic health conditions. If you're just looking for a quick reset, if you've had a few too many vacations or you've had a stressful season, then this is a good way to kind of slip you back into those more healthy routines and habits. And you probably really only need the one round. But if you are fighting things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or you want to lose a substantial amount of weight, you can do this once a month for a solid 3 months, and it's cumulative benefits every time, which is really exciting. So in a general way, and I love this part, you can think about it conceptually. We're not going to make it very sciencey, but fasting really mobilizes and improves your stem cells. Your stem cells are the things that repair you. They can turn into anything. And so if you have something that is broken down or maybe not functioning quite as well as it should, maybe it's an older cell, your body's going to start something called autophagy, which is basically just recycling. It's going to break it down, pull all those parts out, and use them to make make brand new, fresh, fully functional, healthy cells. I mean, you want to talk about turning back the clock, reversing damage, reversing aging. This is where it's at. And when we do that, your overall inflammation drops, your microbiome, your GI, gut bugs, all of the little critters that keep us strong and healthy, those improve. And the dividends that you get on this in a health way, they just keep coming. It just gets better and better. In an aesthetic way, weight loss, hands down, absolutely. I mean, I think most of us are looking for that at some point in time or another, but particularly in a waist circumference kind of way. That seems to be where the fat loss comes from first. One of the more exciting things is skin renewals. So if you think of that autophagy, recycling those old, broken, damaged cells and those stem cells then coming in and rebuilding new ones, you're starting with fresh new skin. And so if you've had skin conditions, rashes, acne, a lot of that's probably going to clear up as well. But I think the weight loss is probably the most exciting one that people kind of come in for sure. And so again, you can use this to treat specific health conditions. And so if you're working on any of these things, your insulin levels, your blood sugars, your cholesterol, your blood pressure with your doctor, this could be a really great addition to your plan. On the flip side, I think we all worry when we're not fast, or when we are fasting, are we going to be losing muscle? And I think that's one of the biggest things that people always argue about or say, you know, oh, I have to get in X amount of calories or X number of grams of protein, or I'm going to lose muscle. And when you're fasting, that's not the time to be building. You're certainly not going to be seeing gains. You're not going to be getting stronger per se, but you won't be losing either. In fact, really what you'll be losing is the fat and the inflammation around the muscle. So a lot of people find that they end up looking stronger out of it simply because they have better definition. But especially in the short term, you're not going to be getting any muscle loss. The other thing that people report in droves is increased clarity and mental focus. And so once that inflammation drops, your mind works so much better. You're able to really crank through that to-do list during the day, get done all the things that you want to do, juggle all those balls that we're always juggling in our day-to-day lives. And with a fast, you do get into ketogenesis. You know, there's a lot of hype around the keto diet. You are effectively getting there. And that's all that really is your body using your fat stores as energy, as fuel. And so the benefits of this, really the more benefits you need, the more benefits you'll see. And so we've all done it here at the office. Well, most of us. I just finished a round posting it on social media. Many of you may have seen it. Did video postings every day. And really, for people who are leaner and they're just looking for that reset, they're looking to kind of get back on track, you know, they'll probably lose a handful of pounds. We've got some people here that lost maybe 3 or 4, but they didn't gain any of it back, and they were able to get their habits back to where they wanted them to be. I most recently did it and dropped a good 9 pounds, which was fantastic. And I think if someone were to have a higher amount of weight that they wanted to lose, they would probably drop even more than that over the course of the 5 days. So, you know, if you feel like you have a lot of work to do, don't be discouraged. It actually, I would say be encouraged, because it can work really, really well. Even when you've got a big goal in front of you. So the Prolon fasting mimicking diet specifically, it's a 5-day program, and they ease you in and they ease you out. And 5 days, I think, is so easy. You know, oftentimes we'll do maybe a 3-week or a 6-week something, whatever that program might look like. And, you know, the first week is reasonably easy because it's fresh and new and exciting. And then come week 2 or 3, you're like, oh gosh, when's it going to end? 5 days is much easier to slip into your calendar, to slip into a busy life. And just about the time you think I'm done, you truly are done, which is really nice. For our vegan and vegetarian friends, it's 100% plant-based. For people with food sensitivities, it's gluten, dairy, sugar-free. It is low protein. That's on purpose. And it's high in those good unsaturated fats. There's a lot of olives and nuts involved. And that's an important piece of adding in that fuel for energy so that you don't feel completely crashed out, while you're fasting on this thing. And so what this looks like for your body, the first 12 to 16 hours, that would count as, what we're calling a time restricted feeding. You'll also hear people call this intermittent fasting, and really doing something like that's very good for just metabolic management, weight management, that kind of thing. Intermittent fasting can go for stretches all the way up to and including a full 24-hour day. And that still keeps you in that weight management category. But once you get to 2, 3, 4, 5 days, that's when you start getting that recycling of those old, kind of less functional, maybe slightly broken cells, and rejuvenation. And so if you really want to get after it and repair your body, this is a great, great way to do it. And so this is what the box looks like. I think it's very pretty. It's very sleek. It's very contained. It fits nicely on the counter. And when you open it up inside, there's a water bottle, and then they have each day in its own separate box, and they're numbered. And as a busy mom, I can tell you this is one of my favorite features, because it really doesn't matter how slammed my day is. When I'm running out the door in the morning and I've got 8 million things happening and kids and dogs and whatever, you grab your box and your water bottle and you go. And everything you need for the day is in that box. So convenient. This is what one of the typical days looks like. This happens to be day 2. And so I've got a whiteboard feature here. You've got some soups here. They're very easy. You pour them in a bowl, mix them with hot water, and they do thicken up really well. So a lot of people like that. You've got some packets of olives up here. There are the nut bars here. There's some vitamins hanging out in the back. You've got teas, which are really pretty darn tasty. It's spearmint with lemon, and hibiscus. I'm allergic to hibiscus personally, so I can't do that tea. But quite frankly, I brought them into the office, left them on the table, and those suckers were snatched up quickly because people love it. And then this here is something called L-Drink. And that is, it's a glycerol solution that helps to maintain your energy during the day. And so you pour a certain amount of it into your water bottle. It has a slightly sweet taste, and then you just sip on it through the course of the day. And it really does help. And it provides you that energy without spiking your glucose and insulin, and while continuing to leave your body, as far as you're concerned, in the fasted state. When I first learned about this, my first question was, well, can't I just eat soup and olives on my own and keep it low calorie and trick my body into thinking I'm fasting? And the short answer to that is no. So the scientists that have put this together have blended these things in such a way that it interacts differently with your metabolic system than actual food would. So unfortunately, this isn't a DIY thing. You really do need the kit to get those benefits. But having done a water fast and having done a juice fast, having gone several days without chewing anything, I can tell you this is infinitely easier. And I think probably more effective, simply because you're just better able to stick with it and follow the directions. And so day 2, then you get the L bar for breakfast. Lunch would be some soup and olives and your vitamin. Afternoon would be another olive snack, or they have kale chips. You might have a day with some kale chips that are pretty good. When I first heard kale chips, I thought, oh man, nobody eats kale chips for fun. I bet those things are going to be disgusting. And they are actually really pretty good. And then dinner, soup and another bar. And then throughout the day, water, the L-Drink, the tea. So you're getting little bits of things throughout. And that particular schedule is not necessarily set in stone. So if you're not a big breakfast eater, I'm not, for me personally, I just added the bar either to lunch or dinner, whichever felt best to me. But you can kind of spread things out depending on what your schedule for the day looks like and how you prefer to eat. So here's what it looks like, kind of already prepped. One of my favorite things about the soups is that you can add as much or as little water as you like. So if you're one who likes your soup kind of brothy and to have a bigger volume, awesome, add more water. For me, I like it to be a little bit thicker because then it feels like I'm eating something a little bit more substantial. So I add less water. Then you can see here's the kale chips right here. And certain days you get a little bit of an algae-based omega pill. Not every day, but that's something you'll see. And lots of tea. And I recommend that, especially when you're drinking a lot of water, having some extra tea in there. It gives you a different flavor, a little something else to sip on, keeps the day more interesting. One exciting kind of side benefit to this is you're not spending anywhere near as much time prepping your food, shopping for food, wondering what you're going to eat for lunch. You don't have to go anywhere or get anything. You actually end up saving a boatload of time on this just because you're not having to manage all of that. And let's face it, it's a small meal, so it's over pretty quickly, even when you use a small spoon and go slow. Then when it's done, transitioning off is really important. How you break a fast is just as important as the fast itself. And it's tempting to get to day 5 and be like, I'm done, peace out, I'm gonna go have some fun. And you're gonna end up with a massive tummy ache if you do that. And so transitioning out well, not only will you feel better, but it maintains a lot of those benefits much longer, I think. And so day 6, you're still keeping your meals very light and very small. A lot of fluids, a lot of vegetables, maybe a tiny bit of protein. And then day 7, you get back to your normal healthy diet. Now, what that means is different for everybody. So what that should look like is a conversation between you and your doctor. Typical weight loss over the course of 5 days is anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds. But again, everybody's individual. And so some people might be on the shy side of that. Other people might be quite a bit more than that. So, there is some variability there, but I would say 5 to 10 pounds is a very good average number. A lot of that weight loss is going to be water weight, inflammation, and just general kind of puff. And one of the greatest things, though, about doing this lifestyle kind of habit reset is when you come out of it, and I can vouch for this, really all you want are fresh vegetables. And that makes it much easier to stay with it and keep that inflammation down. You can expect to gain some weight back, but typically not all, especially if you're sticking with a healthy program. So in my case, I dropped 9 over the course of the 5 days. I've gained 2 back, and it's holding steady right there. And I feel really good. The best thing, though, is over time, especially with that kind of cellular rejuvenation, is your insulin levels improve, or your insulin sensitivity. And so over time, you manage your blood sugars much better, and you're able to really hold that weight off. And for some people, maybe even continue to lose if it gets you set onto a good path. And so the habit reset, and this top one here, this is very near and dear to my heart. It's a good reminder of a reasonable portion size, right? We love to eat. I'm guilty of this. You start having a little too much fun, start making too big of plates. My darling husband, he's such a wonderful man. He typically makes me my plate, but he forgets that I'm not actually a man and makes me a giant plate. I think a lot of us kind of struggle with these things. It's also a great way to do a kind of cold turkey breakup with sugar, gluten, dairy. For a lot of us, those are things we know we shouldn't have, but we have a hard time making that split. It's a great way to do it. If you're one that struggles to drink a lot of water, when you're not eating food, you're just automatically going to be drinking more water, and this might be a great time to make a new habit. And again, you do get that nice little detox effect. This program is most definitely not for anyone under the age of 18, the elderly, especially from a low protein standpoint. If you are pregnant or nursing, that's not the time to be detoxing and losing weight. If you're already underweight, this could be a problem. If you have an active infection, so if you've got a fever or something currently going on, that's not the time to start a fast. And if you're allergic to nuts, soy, oats, sesame, or rice, because they do have those components into the kit. Now, that really covers a true allergy. If you're just a little bit sensitive, you might want to talk to your doctor because the benefits might outweigh any little bit of reaction to you that you have. But again, talk to your doc about that one. If you're diabetic, this could be a really big game changer for you. It could be of huge, huge benefit, but don't do it on your own. The kinds of medications that you have to take when you're diabetic could cause a major, major drop in blood sugar when you're fasting, and that can be deeply unsafe. So you're gonna have to have some medication management happening if you're diabetic and wanting to do a fast. And so again, just work closely with your doctor because this could be a huge benefit for you. While you're on the program, definitely no strenuous exercise. You don't have enough nutrition on board to repair that. You're really just looking to maintain. And you want to stay away from extreme temperatures. Now, the summer heat, most of us stay inside. I definitely would not recommend in Arizona, say, doing yard work in the middle of the day, hot tubs, saunas. You just don't want to risk getting lightheaded. Keep an eye out for signs of allergy. That's true with any kind of program you might want to do, rash, hives, that kind of thing. And then obviously, if you're not feeling quite right, call your doctor, but especially if you're feeling lightheaded. So we are just a few minutes shy of our 12:30 mark. Let's see if we have any questions.
Some good ones. One is a little bit of a tough one, but I'm skeptical of food in packets. Wouldn't fresh foods be more beneficial?
Yes. So the question is, wouldn't fresh food be much better than food in packets? And in general, I'd say yes, absolutely, hands down. This is actually fresh food. So one of the things we worry about with packets is that it's going to be very highly processed. If you read the ingredients lists on these things, it's actual vegetables and things. And so it's basically been flash frozen and powdered to make into that soup. And then they've added some different fibers and things. And so it's not your typical highly processed packet food. And the benefits that you'll get in a metabolic way just from effectively tricking your brain into thinking that you're fasting, I think far outweigh any concerns that I would have about the packets.
Do you continue taking supplements during this time?
Yes. So other supplements and medications, do you keep taking them while you're on the fasting mimicking diet? And I would say for sure, talk to your doctor about that. When it comes to supplements, there are always things that are kind of optional. We sort of take them for long-term health, but they might not be strictly necessary every day. And I think those would be fine to let fall by the wayside. Certain medications and supplements you certainly want to keep taking every day. So that's a tough question to answer because you really need to know what's mandatory and what's not. So yes, for me personally, I dropped probably 90% of my supplements. I kept one thing and my thyroid medication. Now, everybody's situation might be a little bit different.
So question on the tea, is there caffeine in the tea and can you use different teas?
Yes, so questions on the tea, is there caffeine in it? No, which I love. It's just straight herbs and tea. And so in fact, one day I went out to my garden, cut off some mint and tucked it in some hot water. And it was the same as, one of the other tea bags. So no caffeine. And yes, you can use other teas. And again, the idea is for it to be non-caffeinated and you want to make sure that there's no sugar or anything in it, right? So some pre-made teas have flavorings. You definitely don't want those. In my case, being allergic to the hibiscus, I started substituting other things. I had some dandelion tea, I had some red raspberry tea, things that were just laying around the house. You could even do ginger in hot water if you wanted.
What about coffee and a little creamer?
What about coffee and a little bit of creamer? Yes. So the goal is to keep your caffeine to an absolute minimum. And so if you're not much of a coffee drinker, ideally you would skip your coffee for those 5 days. For me, I just decreased my coffee for those 5 days. It's not the end of the world to have a little bit of coffee. You really just want to try hard to keep it to the 1 cup mark. and you really do want to have it black if at all possible. So when I drank mine, I put a little bit of stevia in and just left it at that. But particularly things like milk, creamer, half and half, even some of your alternative milks, your oat milk, nut milk, that kind of thing, you do run the risk of having added sugars and things in there that could just throw it off a little bit, and your results might not be as good.
How often do you recommend doing the fast? Once a year, once a month?
Yeah, how often do we recommend doing the fast? Once a year is, I think, a great kind of let's get back on track, or sometimes if you want to do, say, a spring cleaning. If you have a condition that you're working on, or if you haven't quite reached a goal yet, then we recommend doing it in series about once a month until you get to where you want to be. But typically for people who are just looking to maintain and kind of optimize their health, once a year is good.
Right. If somebody has active candida, is this a plan that's good for them?
If somebody has active candida, is this a good program for them? The fasting can absolutely help to reset the microbiome and therefore help to treat candida. You know, the hard part though is sometimes candida can be severe enough that you have major symptoms that might make a fast really uncomfortable. And so if it's just a little bit of candida, I think you would be perfectly fine. But if you're having pretty big symptoms, I'd talk to your doctor first. And that might just be a question of adjusting your supplements to make sure that you can do it comfortably.
So how do we ensure that what we eat after we fast isn't going to go back and be added as fat?
Yes. How do we make sure that when we come off of the fast, the food that we're eating doesn't kind of contribute to gaining the weight back again? That is a bit of a twofold answer. So part of it, the onus is on us to really police our habits and things. There are a lot of resources through the Prolon website that your doctor can get you set up with, meal plans and that kind of thing. And you can be working with your doc for very specific suggestions. You know, for some people, they really like to do macro tracking where they plug everything in on an app to make sure they're staying within a good range. For other people, they really need something regimented like a meal plan. You have this for dinner this day or something like that. But those are really good tools, I think, to use to just stay on track.
And then the big question is, how much does it cost?
And how much does it cost? So that actually is a beautiful segue. If you look over to your comments section, we have an offer for you guys today. Let me get that pulled up. And so it is 10% off right now if you go ahead and click to order. Each kit is $250, and so you would get your $25 off of that. And that, I think, is all we have today. So again, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon to be with us. I hope this has been really helpful. And, you know, having done it personally a couple of times now, I can't say enough good things about this one. So hopefully it helps you out too. Have a great day, guys.